Welcome back to the Octus Download, the podcast where credit meets culture and where your slightly sketchy hotel reservation, your Insta algorithm, and your financial dignity can all disappear before lunch. I'm Jason Sanjana, and Gen Z whisperer Tanya says Insta is dated slang for Instagram, but what can I say? I am who I am.
I am what I am. And I'm Kevin Eckhardt. If you're a regulator who got kicked out of the East Side Motel because your booking website failed, your favorite app is a fraud delivery service, or you have to Klarna a cup of coffee, you're in the right place. Producer Tanya says this week is a good one, which is Octus code for looking good for us, pretty shitty for everybody else.
Before we get into it, Kevin's going to do the compliance read to appease the scold in our compliance department. Remember, everything you're about to hear is opinions and chit-chat by us, and is definitely not the responsibility of Octus or our coworkers, and definitely not the responsibility of the Marriott night manager who had to tell a family of 4 their Sonder reservation evaporated into thin air.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Remember, these are our personal views, not those of Octus or anyone affiliated with Octus. We actually just licensed the Octus name from Kent for $1 per year, like Quality Mall space. This podcast is for information and entertainment. It is not investment advice. If you think, speak, or act in reliance on anything we say, you need those schizophrenia meds we saw in an ad during last week's Jets beatdown.
Hey, Kevin, before we start, I've actually been waiting for this recording because I'm thrilled to report that apparently CDs are back, at least in my house.
You are so far behind the hipster curve, brother.
I had the hipster set up with, we inherited a lot of vinyl records. I think I've spoken about this, and I have a nice turntable and some nice speakers, and I finally got a nice CD player to pair into that
LCD
system.
sound system.
Yeah, and I pulled out all my old CDs that were sitting on the shelf somewhere, and it's to pair into that system. It's actually true like a hipster experience now. They're light, they're weird, they're like bespoke. It's physical media. It's
It's not a CD player, Jason. It's a CD transfer.
It is. Actually, Kevin, I brought props from my collection.
When I
here.
say you are way behind, brother.
Look at this.
CDs. This is the real hipster deal. This here.
I got this guy.
Oh no!
And it's full of burned CDs. Do you have a burned copy of the Sigur Rós third album? Producer Tanya asked us to talk about Tower Records, which is funny because we're both actually a little bit too old for that because by the time Tower Records was really thriving, we were probably like ripping CDs from.
Speaking of shitty things that skip when you shake them, let's talk about the hospitality company that managed to collapse so suddenly people were getting kicked out of their hoties mid-stay.
Sonder collapsed this week in a way that didn't just break news, it broke people's actual vacations. The company said it will file for Chapter 7, and it's going to liquidate its U.S. assets after Marriott terminated a license agreement that, when it was announced, sent the company's stock soaring. That partnership was supposed to be the stabilizing force behind the company, and instead it sent Sonder off a cliff. For those of you who don't know, Sonder is...
I had
never heard of this company before.
Existed.
Sonder is an attempt to bridge the gap between Airbnb and traditional hotel stays. It allows folks to book apartment-like setups in traditional hotels. Imagine, as friend of the pod Mark Fisher explained, that it lets you live like Dylan McKay at the Beverly Hills Hilton for all of season 1 of 90210. Truth.
Oh, so it's like you can turn like an Embassy Suites in Cedar Rapids into the Chateau Marmont.
I guess in your mind,
is that the idea?
I think you have to
love those old stories of people living in hotels.
I think a lot of hotels have been building in sort of apartment-like rooms, and this is taking advantage of that. But I'm not entirely sure whether all of them were apartment-like stays or not.
They should call it Proust.
Why is that, Kevin?
Because he lived at the Ritz Hotel in Paris for like 30 years.
Oh, there you go. Madeleine.
God, you are such a Philistine.
Okay, Marriott hasn't said specifically yet why it believes Sonder breached the agreement. Sonder says its integrations with Marriott systems never came together, the frameworks didn't align, the cost ballooned, revenue from Bonvoy bookings fell, blah, blah, blah. That's all corporate speak for we effed up. Sonder had already warned in June that liquidity was tight, they hired advisors, they restated their financials, and they looked for a deal with creditors or third parties, all the usual stuff. But none of it landed, and when Marriott pulled the plug, the entire thing unraveled almost instantly in a truly spectacular fashion. And this is actually why we're talking about it, because I think otherwise this is just a shitty
love a spectacular color.
It was unusually public because, Kevin, according to press reports, people staying in Sonder rooms suddenly got emails asking them to vacate immediately, apparently sometimes in minutes. Some ignored the messages because they looked like spam. One family in Boston says they came back home, big air quotes on that, to find their door open and their belongings backed up in the hallway.
All of our stuff had been packed up. They, clean clothes, dirty clothes, even our toiletries. And the 5 of us made a pact. We said, all right, we can either relocate or we'll just risk it and stay tonight. I mean, Sonder's gone. They're bankrupt. Marriott's divested themselves. Who's in charge here?
This wasn't
I mean,
really.
they would
This
have
is not
to
a
get,
wind down. It's an evacuation. It's more Hanoi, April 30, 1975.
They would have to get
without the
an armed
helicopters.
team to get me out of there. Have you ever managed to stay at a hotel beyond your reservation by simply not leaving? Great strategy. I did it
Do
for
you do
Mardi
that
Gras.
often, Kevin?
Did it for Mardi Gras in law school. It just was like, they're like, hey, I reserved a room for like 3 days before Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
And just refused to vacate. One of us was always there.
You squatted.
You just don't leave. You are so straight-laced. Look, Jason, I got to take the company's side on this. You're
Okay,
making it
Kevin.
sound like they did a bad thing, but everyone knows when you book a hotel room on a website, you're taking counterparty risk. You got to get in the data room and diligence that before closing. Read the Marriott offering memoranda.
Hire advisor.
If you don't, you end up coming back from dinner to find your underwear in a plastic bag at the front desk because someone somewhere couldn't merge 2 reservation systems, especially when you're using Sonder because of its emphasis on premium design forward lodging. It's great. I love that came about in the 90s, kids. You can thank us for it. You thought you were getting Ian Schrager, but you ended up sleeping on the floor at the Port Authority. And honestly, that's on you.
Kevin, 100 out of 100 times I would rather take good service and a nice bed than design forward environments, but maybe that's just me. Anyways, we won't know who's at fault on this one until a lot of litigation happens. But people are shocked, obviously. Getting kicked out of your hotel room mid-evening is traumatic. But for us, the bankruptcy boys, hit it.
Sonder went broke, now Marriott's kicking out the crowd. No more late stays, they're shutting it down so loud. The rooms once filled with laughter now stand empty and bare. Don't worry, the bankruptcy boys, Kevin and Jason are here. It all down.
It's not really that surprising with these travel companies.
And Tanya was shocked that they would just kick
Tanya
these
was
people
shocked.
out.
It's really not that surprising that these travel companies lead to actual people getting screwed because we've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
The shit boat cruise company that I'm forgetting its name.
Viking? No.
No.
MSC?
Viking is a real company
one.
that is not in financial distress. There was another one.
Thank you. Somebody from compliance just showed Jason a taser. You can't see it because it's behind the camera.
Yeah, no. There was a very fledgling riverboat cruise company that just kind of failed spectacularly and had lots of bookings and didn't return. That's the thing. You book with these companies, you're almost never seeing that money again unless you have some sort of protection on the side.
Yeah,
this
your
one's
deposit
surprising
is
because they were
gone.
kicked out mid-stay. Usually you would do a little bit more. I mean, it's really kind of surprising that Marriott would do this, to be honest with you, because
My personal favorite was back in the day when I was a young lad working bankruptcy. We had a case called Renaissance Cruises. And this was like a luxury Euro cruise line. They were trying to do what like those Orlando Bloom commercials are trying to do
the
for
coast,
whoever
the
that
coast
is.
of Europe, not riverboat, coastal.
Right.
Yeah.
Mediterranean. And they were
Bruges,
supposed to be
okay.
fancy.
Not Bruges, yeah.
And they decided to file one day, and we represented an entertainment company, and they drove the boat into the port of Rome
And just kick
Civitavecchia,
those
the passengers,
those third-rate Broadway
and
actors off the boat.
the employees. So we got a call. The reason we found out about it was the client got a call from a pianist who had been working in like the lounge, and they like dumped him, his piano, and the tip glass
Oh my
on
God.
the dock.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
he called and he's like, what do I do now? I got a piano. And
Look,
then they hightailed the boats out to sea so they couldn't be seized by the authorities.
Yeah.
The Fijian Navy actually seized one of them.
Were they
But
Fiji?
that's another
Were they
story.
Fiji flagged or something like that?
They like sent the Fijian Marines to board it while it was docked.
There's a whole thing. I mean, in the OSG cases, it was a big deal. But basically, ships are giant movable collateral that is actually pretty hard to, well, not hard to lean up, but hard to enforce upon because they can move from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and maritime law. There's this maritime law stuff, and it gets really gnarly. Yeah.
They get paid. The locals get paid first.
All the bunkering fees come first. The port come first. Big mess.
Anyway,
but anyways, but
bankrupt
with these travel
do
companies,
this shit. It still sucks.
the one that you mentioned is surprising because usually you'd think you could try to string along financing to get to the port where it makes sense or to get the passengers off or the pianist in your case. But I guess
this was 2002.
Okay. Yeah. But these companies, when they don't have any money and they have to close, they really do have to close quickly because insurance and stuff like that. You can't just be out on a boat with people. It's completely, the music stops and it can stop spectacularly.
The Sonder example.
The Sonder is weird though. It's weird.
It almost felt like a little personal fit by Marriott. There was something going on, and someone at Marriott got really pissed off by something Sonder did and said, put their people on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, so somebody on the internet, Kevin, as our main source for the podcast, said that Sonder, got all these bookings through the Marriott system, got the money from customers, and then never gave any of it to Marriott, or never gave enough of it to Marriott. Which,
of course,
yeah,
Marriott
which is
was
probably the
extending
story.
them credit by letting people sleep there, and when they filed a Chapter 7, Marriott stopped extending credit. Now it's not exactly a good publicity.
Right. That's what's interesting. Is like, why not give people a day or two and have a support? Like, why not bring in a support group of customer service reps that are like, hey, can we help you find a new place? If
I
we can't
suspect
do it here?
that the reason is that they simply didn't have many Sonder rooms occupied in the first place.
That would make it even easier to not have it become a PR nightmare, or they just didn't anticipate this. Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably that. Then the last thing I just want to say is that they do in the news stories reporting on this, Marriott says they're providing options for people. And then if you go to the fact page they put up on the internet, it's actually pretty confusing because it lists like 3 different options. One is you book through Sonder for a Sonder one is you book through Marriott for a Sonder property, and one is you book Sonder for a Sonder stay in a Marriott property. And each one of those leads you to a different, it's like a horrible tree diagram where either they tell you to put a stop order on your credit card or they tell you to call a certain number. But it doesn't feel like a very good or useful fact page for people who are stranded.
For all the branding and all the capital, this ended the way a lot of SPAC stories end. Fast on the way up, faster on the way down, lots of cocaine-fueled parties in between. And the customer gets left holding the bag with her toothbrush in it. I'm sorry, I can't think design forward without cocaine because I'm from Miami.
Hospitality only works if people trust the experience. Sonder and maybe Marriott broke that when in the most direct way imaginable in this circumstance. Once the guest relationship is gone, there's no business left to fix. But anyways, from one company failing its customers to another one failing them at industrial scale, let's talk about the platform that made billions letting scams run wild.
Yeah, it's that little platform. Facebook and Instagram owner Meta has a scam problem, and not a small one. Not a someone clicked on the wrong link problem, or maybe that Temu Ben Rice jersey looks a little off problem. No, it's a real structural issue, friends. According to new reporting, nearly 10% of Meta's global ad revenue comes from fraudulent or misleading ads for straight up scams. That's $16 billion in real cash. Well, as real as the dollar gets nowadays, traded for absolutely zero value every year. And the company, presumably even Zuck himself, is well aware of it. They're aware their sites are
according to some good reporting by Reuters.
Exactly. Fake celebrities, fake shops, fake products, crypto schemes, counterfeit versions of products from virtually every brand. Yeah. It's like Canal Street with deep fakes. Just go on there and you can find them selling,
I follow a lot of grilling and smoking accounts on Instagram, and the amount of ridiculous contraptions that they want to sell the suckers to, like it's a smoker that can go to 2,000 degrees. It's like, no.
I'm going to tell you a little secret. The really good smoker videos are not on Instagram or Facebook, people. Meta has been repeatedly warned by regulators, consumer groups, and internal teams that this is going on. But the company's stance is pretty simple. As friend of the show Vespasian once put it, money don't stank. They'll take the money. They'll apologize later, maybe. They'll say enforcement is improving. Meanwhile, the scams keep scaling and users are the ones who get stuck with garbage or nothing at all. Facebook, Meta, Instagram get paid whether the ad is real or not. They get paid again when the scammer has to buy ads clarifying that the previous ads are fake. It's those responsible for sacking those responsible have been sacked. They get engagement spikes whenever a scam goes viral. They charge scammers more for ads when they get flagged. If you complain about a fraudulent ad, Facebook will add a penalty bid
based
that
on
increases the amount Facebook gets.
They have systems that try to suss out if something's a scam when they get solicited to do the ad. And apparently there's the all clear level.
AI.
And then there's like a middle level. There's the one that's obviously a scam and that's so far that they won't do it. And then there's this middle level where their answer was, we'll just charge more and hopefully, market magic. Yeah.
How do they train this? Yes, their argument is that if there is a somewhat scammy ad that they can see as somewhat scammy, they will make more money from it to try and drive it off the platform. I mean, it's insane. And the cost of cleaning it up gets pushed to banks and payment processors, credit card companies. We were talking about chargebacks.
Yep.
And the people who fell for that fake Rob Lowe vitamin
if you
commercial.
look that good, you should be taking this vitamin.
You think Rob Lowe looks like that? He's 75 years old. You think that's vitamins? That guy has a deal with Satan.
Yeah.
Satan.
Yeah, Rob Lowe, that's a whole other podcast, but Rob Lowe's skincare regime is, hashtag goals for all of us.
My mom admits that Lowe is better looking than Mark Harmon now. It's really, that was her thing. That was her 80s, dilemma.
Hard to overstate how weird it's become that this is normal. I mean, honestly, when it comes to ads, I'm a bit on the team caveat emptor because it's the only way, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. But that only works if you can return your purchase. And on some of these social media sites, the vendors are ghosts in the machine, and you are paying money into a black hole.
Yeah.
But
again, counterparty risk, people.
Yeah, do your due diligence. I mean,
take it from a former
obviously
distressed
that's a
trading
joke,
guy.
but there is some level of I'm old fashioned, but I'd rather buy something for $1 more on Amazon.
I mean, I assume that all arbitrage is already priced in.
Okay, Milton Friedman over here.
I like looking at old cars, right? So I go on Bring a Trailer, and it's going for this much.
Right.
If
There's
you
no
see
deals.
it for a lot less, you got to assume why hasn't it sold at
We
that?
are old, and one thing that I've
it's
learned over
priced
time
in.
is you definitely do get what you pay for. But look, going
Still,
beyond
you
ads,
can't be carrying those ads.
But going beyond the ads, it's like this has taken over the world because fake news stories are just being reposted over and over again. Our team here at Octus, the lawyers, we were trying to figure out this MSN news story about what they said was a new subprime auto lender bankruptcy, and we were like, well, we should probably get on that. Then we looked into it, and the company didn't
Guys, wake
exist.
up.
There's a reason why we weren't on it.
Subprime auto lender.
It was a completely fake company, a completely fake bankruptcy, and it was like a 4-page story of nothing fake facts. And then that's okay. MSN News is full of AI slop for sure, but
I didn't even know it still existed, honestly.
Okay.
Of course, my wife is the last person on earth with a Hotmail account.
No, a lot of people have a Hotmail. I don't know why exactly, but look, do you remember the Trump RX news conference in the Oval Office where the guy passed out, Kevin, and Trump is like standing there in that famous photo, like little Lord Fauntleroy, confused what to do? Well,
with his weird forward lean.
So for 12 hours after that happened, most every news site and all the real news agencies were reporting the name of the guy who passed out completely incorrectly. That the person they were saying was passed out wasn't even in the Oval Office. It's just one reference on Twitter snowballed, and suddenly that was the news. They cleaned it up the next day. My point is just
cool story, bro.
We are bathed in garbage crap right now, and I actually think that the fakes. To bring it back to what we were talking about, I think that the amount of fake ads and fake scamming happening on social media has given a permission structure for stuff that's just spreading like a virus.
Everything is the Overton window, man.
And look,
the more people evolve, they learn to tolerate things.
Yeah.
And the more they do, the more you can get away with. You just stretch them a little further, and the humans tend to pick this up. Now, what's the problem here is that Facebook is not picking up on it because they need the money.
Yeah. Look, the part that gets me here, Kevin, is how often victims end up blaming themselves. They think that they should have known it was fake. Meanwhile, Meta's out there describing what amounts to a deception as essentially a content moderation challenge, which sure feels like a lot of BS to me. I mean, if you read the Reuters reporting about this, they had a report, they did an internal report flagging how much of this was happening, talking about how they were going to address it. And that's kind of been their response to the extent they have one right now, is the company spokesman telling them that the news story was a selective view that distorts their approach.
It was context out of context.
Yeah, and that the 10% might not be 10% anymore, and we've done better since then. But all of that is basically not challenging the truth of the underlying thing. So
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
We're in that weird place in civilization where people have become accustomed to these social platforms and integrated them into their lives, but they are not yet savvy enough, apparently, to really kind of to sift through them and pick the wheat from the chaff. So you got to do that a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Used to be, we're in that Western village from Three Amigos, and the second snake oil salesman has walked in, and people are like, I don't know if I should trust. The last one was a total fraud. but they're not yet as sophisticated as they'll be when the third one comes in. And,
I mean,
the
snake oil
FDA
is
needs
exactly
to stop and say, these people are used to it enough to trust it, but not used to it enough to be able to piece through it. And it's just, I mean, what really gets me is the penalty bids thing, right?
They thought that an answer would be to jack up the price for the scammers.
Right. They want to jack up the price so they can make more money from this scammer before it disappears and starts another scam paying less than that.
Yeah.
So they're charging it up because they know they're not going to get that revenue long term. And they're trying to characterize it as penalty bids, like it's going to price them out of the market. The scam will always pay more for advertising than the legitimate company.
It's also, I mean, it's a structural issue too, because I'm not really one to put Amazon on a pedestal for much, but they do kind of take ownership of the process of delivery and the process of returns. And so that inherently incentivizes Amazon not to have a bunch of scammers on their site because it just costs them admin money to deal with it.
I don't buy anything unless it's Prime. And unless it's Prime, if it's marked as shipped by Amazon or fulfilled by Amazon, you can generally trust it. I mean, it's
But
like
the days of buying a table on Amazon and it turns out to be 3 inches tall are long gone. I mean, I know that you're not going to get the best quality for some of the vendors and stuff like that, but
I want them to
the
keep a
most
few
part-
of those. I want these companies to keep a couple little tiny schemes.
That's where I think we
Just
are with
just for
Amazon.
fun.
And my point is that with
I need to
Meta
see
and the
people get
socials,
schemed.
they're not owning the return process. They're not owning the shipping. They're not owning it's an admin. It's a frictionless admin problem. There's no
Jason,
admin
why-
friction for them to have
you
scammers.
seem to feel very strongly about this. I haven't seen you this involved and emotional in a sort of debate. Jason, I want to know why you feel so strongly about this. This is really something. Is there a personal story?
No,
Are we gonna go? Do we have a clip here?
I honestly don't. I would never. And we were talking to Tanya about this before. I would never in my life. I've seen 100,000 Instagram ads in my doom scrolling. I've never purchased anything through anything. I don't even think I've purchased something on Facebook. But Kevin, I will say the problem with this all is that I think this is preying on the young and the old, and that I think that most people, when they get old enough, when they have a little bit of adulthood to them, don't end up getting scammed as much. And I don't think my mom listens to the podcast, but I did get a little bit worried because my parents are already a little bit, potentially capable of hearing out a timeshare pitch. Like they're in the demo that could be, scammed in dramatic ways. But they've done really well for themselves and they're super responsible. But
yeah, we know you're rich.
I hadn't heard true, just weird disinformation from Facebook in a while. And my mom was telling me, and Mom, I'm sorry if you're listening, but she was telling me that she saw on Facebook that maybe the whole East Wing demolition is Trump building a bigger bunker for when he's clinging on to power, and he's just going to bury himself in the White House to cling to power, which is just a perfect sort of misinformation.
But I mean, did she buy?
Liberals.
Were they selling models of the bunker?
No, this is just misinformation to get you agitated.
Were they selling models of the bunker?
No, this is just misinformation to get you agitated. I don't think she's ever bought it. No, again, we're not really the type to buy stuff from Instagram.
Yeah, my
Facebook.
mom doesn't buy it. I have one old mom, and she is a vulnerable person because my dad isn't around, and he's the guy who bought everything.
Yeah.
But she buys all kinds of baloney from Facebook, like you're talking about, but would never, I don't think, buy like from Facebook.
My mom is
By the way, Mom,
I'm
sorry. I will call you back.
My mom is probably an elite purchaser for her age demo on Etsy, though. So I think she might even have an Etsy credit card for all I know. But that's a little.
You know what I learned today, Jason?
Yeah.
I learned my mom is going to Miami for Thanksgiving to spend it with my brother, his
cool.
family. I think you should stop by because you'd understand a lot. Jason still seems a little baffled by my behavior.
We have a
7 years into our working
on Monday.
relationship.
It'd be funny if it ended up being your brother. I don't know.
Oh,
that would be
nice.
ironic.
That's right. My brother is a pool boy and an unlicensed electrician. Jason, if you run the world's biggest billboard company and let those bad boys out to just anyone, the bad actors will always outbid the good ones, and you'll end up with a bunch of billboards with all kinds of crazy fake on it. That's exactly what's happening on Facebook and Instagram, and Meta loves it. For now.
And people assume platforms act like gatekeepers. They don't. Maybe never, they never did, and they certainly don't anymore. If Meta actually cracked down 100% on fake ads at scale, it seems like the revenue hit for them would be massive. So we get what we get, and we know exactly why they're doing it.
Let's take a break from internet and shitification and talk about something a little easier to understand. Coffee chains falling over all over the club.
This week's Octus Download Trend Watch is about something we all touch every single day: coffee. Okay, but here at Octus, over the last year, we've noticed a steady drip of coffee shops ending up in bankruptcy court. You catch that, Kevin? You caught that?
I saw that.
Okay. In the past year, Red Bay Coffee in the Bay Area, Switchback in Colorado, Inc. ! Coffee, they all filed for Chapter 11. And just
Did they
in
do
the past
tattoos too? I mean,
Kevin, I know this one's going to hit hard for you. Just in the past few weeks, something called the Blend Coffee and Cocktails, based in Tampa, St. Pete, filed.
the coffee booze thing ain't happening, folks. Starbucks tried it.
As a former Starbucks worker, summer worker, I can tell you, just stick in your lane.
If it's Tampa St. Pete, just add some pro wrestling or something. Make all the women
Put a jug
wear
of grain
Timberland
alcohol
boots.
underneath the thing and splash it into your
Yeah,
coffee
some
if they
Purple
want
Passion,
it. But
you know.
they don't.
Save that for the airport, man. The truly degenerate drinking and consuming
It's this Tampa
ideas
St. Pete airport.
belong in the airport.
All right. Back to the coffee shops. The thing is that the coffee shop chain filings seem to be speeding up. The parent company of Cuppa Austin filed in October. Compass Coffee is warning it might have to file if it can't resolve a landlord dispute. I already mentioned the Blend. It's not just a one-off or niche issue anymore. This seems like a real, honest-to-God bankruptcy trend, Kevin.
It's weird because Americans didn't stop drinking coffee. That shit is addictive, and it doesn't turn your lungs into the air filter from an old Rambler. It's good addictive. You can do it. It probably won't kill you. Hell, it might be good for you. 66% of adults drink it every day. People are mainlining this product. Demand is not the issue. It is the cost.
It's the world's most popular drug. There's no demand problem.
Yeah, no. I mean, come on. I've been addicted to so many things, and coffee's the one that's still hanging around.
Pairs so well with cigarettes, too. Black coffee and cigarettes. My 20s once it's baby boy back.
Look, you know what the problem with that was? Y'all out there thinking about having a cup of coffee and a cigarette in the morning after a night drinking, make sure you're close to a bathroom. That's just what I'll say.
Yeah.
Just for you kids thinking about riding the
yeah.
train, that's where you got to worry. Tanya's going to cut that all out because the issue is not demand. The issue is costs. Coffee beans,
yes.
The price of coffee beans is up nearly 20%. Weather in Brazil and Vietnam, the huge producers, is all over the place. Tariffs are pushing up costs because, that's what tariffs do, and the U.S. cannot grow coffee. Labor is pricier and getting distinctly union-y. All right. The U.S. can't grow coffee. Labor is pricier and getting distinctly union-ish. Rents are up. And when you put all of that pressure on a shop that already runs thin margins, something breaks. Even Starbucks, the mothership of modern American coffee shops, is retrenching. They're closing stores, probably to bust unions, cutting nearly 1,000 corporate jobs, and talking openly about pressure on the business. If Starbucks is stumbling, everyone else is up creek sans paddle. I think you can charge whatever you want for coffee. People pay for it.
Well, okay.
Short of like $100 a cup.
If it's too cheap, if there's suddenly an enormous glut of coffee and it really becomes just absolutely costless, then the sort of gourmet side of the industry would fall apart, which backs up a lot of it.
It's amazing.
Look, I don't know about if there's ever like a price too low that would be a problem for coffee, but it's definitely become the actual cost of coffee is too high right now. And what's really interesting is it started in 2024 due to climate and sort of supply dislocation issues. And then it peaked in February 2025, and then the tariffs hit in April. So it's like been one blow after another for coffee prices, just pushing it upwards and upwards. And and in particular Brazil, which has like the stupidest tariffs of the whole bunch, is a huge coffee producer.
My Havaianas, man, I'm taping them back together.
They never fall
$20
apart
for Havaianas.
Mine lasted forever.
No, you gotta get some duct tape. Well, clearly you don't walk in flip-flops.
This is a pretty straight commodity price story, and we're seeing it on the Starbucks side. They're doing a lot of stuff to fix themselves or right size their operations, and then for the smaller folks, it's Chapter 11 time.
All right, Jason, we need to move on.
Yeah, we do.
We have a sponsor.
We do. This episode of the Octus Download is unofficially brought to you by the Collective Hive, the only organization that finally admits the truth you have spent your whole life avoiding. You do not actually know what makes you happy.
That's right, Jason, the collective hive. You think you want a new job? You think you want more money? You think you want a better body or a better relationship or a better zip code. But then you get it, you feel exactly the same. Congratulations, you're a human. It's a design flaw.
The hive solves for that. No more guessing, no more chasing the next shiny thing, no more confusing dopamine for fulfillment.
The moment you join, the hive tells you exactly what you want. And better yet, it makes sure you agree with yourself.
Join us. Become part of a community that thinks together, feels together, and experiences happiness as a group project. No more individuality.
Just warm, soothing alignment. Honestly, it's the most relaxed you will ever be.
And chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you are already halfway in. The hive attracts people who swear they are independent thinkers, but secretly want someone else to make the hard choices.
The collective hive. You never have to wonder what you really want again. We already know.
Yeah.
For Culture Corner this week, we watched the first 3 episodes of Pluribus
We watched and enjoyed it.
on Apple TV. Vince Gilligan's attempt to get Rhea Seehorn a straight-up non-supporting Emmy.
I think it might happen. Okay,
Okay,
but Kevin,
it's happening.
before you take it away, I think we really do, honest to God, have to do a spoiler alert here because this show's very good. And if you haven't seen the first episode, you should go watch it and watch it fresh because the trailers do a perfect job of setting you up for like what the sort of vibes you're about to get, but don't really give you a clue about what's going on. And the whole first episode is going to be spoiled in the next 20 seconds. So we warned you.
The premise is wild, but they play it completely straight. Aliens send us the recipe for a virus or something like a virus that causes all of humanity to experience a sense of oneness with their fellow man. Like when I went to that fish concert on shrooms, the virus creates a kind of Borg effect where thoughts, sensations, even memories bleed across people in this gentle, extremely unnerving way. As someone who lived in the Netherlands in the late 90s, it feels vaguely familiar, but our protagonist, Carol Sturka, is one of the only people who isn't affected. She still feels grief, irritation, confusion, anger, all the messy stuff the virus seems to have erased for everyone else. That makes her an anomaly, possibly a threat to the New World Order.
All right, Kevin. As someone who also lived in the Netherlands, I hear you, but I was thinking this is more of like a universal consciousness Rastafarian thing. Like when you think about the mind glue that's holding these people, it's like this positive vibration, I. And in Pluribus, the mind virus thing, and this is what's really interesting. It's a virus from space coming down, taking over the world, all but 11, 12 people. And the mind virus hive is happy. They love this change. They're into it. This is like, I think they say directly, from their point of view, this is the best thing that's happened to humanity in the history of humanity. So it's just a really, really interesting setup.
The problem is we know from history that doesn't work
What's
out.
really interesting about the hive mind being like super into this change is that behind it in the filmmaking and the Gilligan and Ray Seahorn, there's this whole idea of foreboding. It's teasing the idea that what's going on is amazing. Mass empathy, linked consciousness, true universal knowledge. Behind it, it shows very, very quickly that would also be like an extermination of what it means to be human. And, Ray Seahorn...
For the record, I'm all for it.
I was wondering if we're going to get
Just
there.
not me.
Seahorn's character is not happy with it. Everybody else is. But yeah, take it away, Kevin.
No, I mean, Gilligan, the showrunner, if you don't know who Vince Gilligan is, not the guy from The Island with the professor and Marianne, said his first idea for what became the show came from imagining what it would be like to walk around and have everyone be impossibly nice to you. It took a sci-fi turn from there. But what it really made me think of, and I don't know, I'm sure this take is out there somewhere, but I've been avoiding takes, was, of course, AI.
Okay.
It's all these people
I was thinking about that today, too.
are like agents. They're just surrounding her, and all she wants to do...
And they all have in their head is the
Is the internet.
artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, well, they just have this collective hive mind. Like it's been basically the AI has been trained on what's in everybody's brain who was taken up in this event that's been infected with this virus.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to help. And all she wants to do is buy some fucking grapes or whatever at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And they're serving her, but it's infuriating. And not a person who uses AI for these purposes, I find it's very relatable. It's
like the
what
whole
if,
the suck upness of AI answers and things.
Yeah, and like trying to use little slang bits, like one of the employees
That's such a
says,
great question.
"Toot sweet." Like they're trying to pick up on little social cues, and they're legitimately helpful, but kind of infuriating if that's all you're surrounded by.
Yeah. I mean, and it's actually really interesting because I think this show has been germinating and in production for a while. Probably wasn't kicked off of AI, but certainly interesting stories and great works of art make us think about what's going on today. So yeah, I
mean,
thought
there's-
about AI too.
Like there, and there's the scenes on the plane where she's with Pirate Lady and she's talking to Pirate Lady, and Pirate Lady is talking like a flight attendant. And it occurs to me that's how flight attendants act. That's how everybody in this
everybody
show
can
acts.
be everyone at any time, and they immediately incept, like if she speaks to somebody part of the Borg collective, everyone everywhere hears it at the same time. So and I think
because again, it's like the AI. It's like you send an email, it goes into the AI, and then they're regurgitating it at you. And it's infuriating, especially if you're going through grief and they're regurgitating things at you.
And the best line in the show, by far, for me at least, was when she very quickly, immediately asked to meet with all the other people that were immune to the virus.
12 people.
Thinking that she's going to get a bunch of allies and they'll figure out what to do next. And instead, all of them had family members that survived or they're having fun with it. And one of the women who's most dedicated to like, this isn't a problem is just very happy she's still able to be with her son, who's like 10. And Ray Seahorn's like, well, he's your son, but he's also your gynecologist. And like at some point in
when she asks, would you use a metal or a plastic
she starts asking his son different questions about gynecological examinations.
There's a lot of cultural,
exactly like, he's just
there's a lot of cultural stuff in that episode with, you know, she's an American, and so individuality is important and privacy. And, you know, you have compared we were talking about this, you compared it to like a Marxist-Leninist thing.
Well, I was wondering, I didn't know exactly how much Kevin would be into the Borg experience, because especially when they start turning off the lights because we don't need them because there's no crime, or when they empty the sprouts.
Everything's efficiency.
Yeah, because you can move, if you can centralize all the food, why
everyone's getting fed.
Hashtag Zohan.
Nobody's working at night, so there's like a workers' rights thing, but you could be called at any moment to reassemble the entire stock of a Sprouts in Albuquerque.
Right. They don't seem, there's no union, there's no everyone is a worker. There's no class distinction whatsoever. Kevin, is it actually a manifestation of, assuming there's no evil intent behind, which we should get to because of course there is. But assuming at face value that this virus is just a gift from heaven to make everybody immediately empathetic to each other and understand each other and have infinite wisdom. Everybody's just understanding each other, and it's sure starting to feel like from each according to his abilities and to each according to his needs. Is this your Marxist paradise, Kevin?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's the Marxist dilemma. Look, like us Marxists, us rabid Marxist-Leninists, which everyone knows I am actually an advocate for that worldview.
Yeah, that's not
We're
just
always
a shtick.
telling people,
Not a hashtag, not a shtick.
You have to dissolve the individual. You have to remove the individuality. You have to re-educate people. So, you know, as everyone knows, Jason, this is why Marxism, Leninism didn't work in the world, because it was never really tried.
Yeah, right. We haven't really gone full
bore. You have to re-educate
bore.
people.
Okay.
But here, the aliens have re-educated virtually everyone. But you could also say that it's kind of a late capitalism vibe. Like, everyone's expected to act in particular ways. Everyone's expected to kind of know the same things and serve others in this sort of capitalistic
going against the grain
way.
is bad. It's not. We don't like that anymore. We don't like our 90s alternateens. The best thing to do is to be popular on TikTok.
Yeah, it's got a conform, they live kind of vibe, right? Like especially the first episode where you have the Secretary of Agriculture or whatever is on the
the
TV.
Undersecretary.
It's fantastic because I was wearing a suit. And
he looks the part.
And the running joke about anybody being able to do things like the DHL guy as a doctor or the TGI Fridays waitress as a pilot.
Everyone can do everything all at once.
It has a feel of they live in the sort of conform, consume kind of thing. So what's interesting about the show is it could go in like 20 different thematic directions.
It's really, really thoughtful, really, really interesting. And I think immediately it sets up when you have the Borg hive mind versus Ray Seahorn, who's, you know, basically kind of seems nice, but like sort of sad and not necessarily heroic.
A little depressed.
Yeah, a little depressed, a little schlubby.
And of course her partner has died.
And the one connection she had, the one human anchor to humanness was her partner who died in the transition. The one obvious question we should answer is, if you wake up and find yourself, everyone around you is turned into the hive mind, do you want to join them or do you want to save them? Kevin, I ask you.
Me. I would not try to save them. I will, because first of all, because it would seem daunting and impossible.
Okay, fair enough.
Second of all, because I would want to kind of lay low and pretend I was one of them. Like I'd be like,
that would be impossible.
I might.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be the guy who gets Air Force One and takes advantage of it.
Okay.
But I would try and low key take advantage of it. Like I'd be nice to them and let them come in my house and bring me stuff. I wouldn't go, but I'd kind of just be like, you could just leave me here. Just leave. I'll call you if I need anything. You guys work on your little virus or whatever to try to figure out why I'm immune to it. But I would be pretty chill about the whole thing.
Okay, I think it's a really interesting. I mean, it's thoughtful. For me, I'd be inclined to like try to see the good side of the no wars and efficiency and stuff. But I think that pretty quickly I'd end up like Ray Seahorn and just this is clearly a complete extermination and holocaust of what it means to be human. And
well, to you. A rich guy in America.
I think at some level I'm sympathetic as a playing footsie with the Marxist universalist types. I mean I'm sympathetic to the idea that a world with a lot more empathy could be a lot better. I like efficiency.
Yeah, but Jason, I guess here's the question: What about you and what about your kids?
Well, right,
your kids are absorbed by the virus.
This is what I'm getting
How does
to.
that
At some
make you
level,
react?
if I'm one of 11 people left on Earth, that's one thing, and everyone else is something else. I'd be asking, why is this happening, and is this a good thing? And I think that and this is the thing. Pretty soon you realize that everyone around you has changed, and that means that the humanness of everyone is gone, and it's become something else. And then then you have to ask immediately, is that a good thing? And I think you have to get pretty quickly to know.
I know you have a very particular American take on individuality and the meaning of pain and anger, and that people need to feel their pain, that they need to experience it, that you're not a fully human unless you suffer or process these things. I think that's a little more culturally confined to white guy America than you might.
Okay. I think there's concepts of the rapture in a lot of religions and stuff. And I'm willing to say that in almost every belief value system, there's like an end of times and it could be happy. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if I was Ray Seahorn and one of the 11 people left, it would not take me long to realize that there's some evil, malevolent intent behind what's happening on Earth. This is not
what are you
a
gonna do
rapture
about
into
it?
God.
They're aliens who invented a virus that makes everybody feel one. And be like, I mean, look, let's step back. And this is, we'll wrap it up after this because Tanya is freaking out about our philosophical discussions.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't care about what happens to humanity.
Okay. Okay.
You know, like people are like, everyone's well, we need to survive. Humanity must survive. I'm like, humanity's like, if this is the end of mankind as we know it,
okay,
these 12 people, I'd be like, let's party, bro. It's not our problem. We're gonna die. We don't care. Nobody cares.
To be fair, I would go
saving
through my
people,
process here of being worried and thinking it's bad, and I'd probably get to where you are because it is an impossible problem to tackle. So we both end up in the same place.
You'd be debating it like this. If we were two of those 12 people,
we would be having a disaster for humanity.
We would be having this conversation on Air Force
We'd
One.
have Borg Tanya recording our conversations, yelling at us.
Well, but then we could tell her, like, Tanya, stop telling us we're assholes.
Yeah. Yeah,
she'd have to say yes.
Sorry, for people who,
It'd be a much
you inexplicitly
worse show.
haven't watched this and you're still listening, there's a weird part about this whole situation where they can't say no to her and they're very invested in her being happy and they ultimately want her to join the collective. Is that because they can't get what they want out of Earth until everybody is...
Well, she says it's a biological imperative, that they are just driven by evolutionary concerns to spread the virus.
They should have been following the Prime Directive. If not, they're evil.
All
So dorky.
right. That's Culture Corner.
Yep.
Next time we'll be discussing Max Headroom.
All right, that's it for this week's Octus Download. We covered a hotel liquidation, scam ads powering half the internet, a coffee sector trying to stay upright, and a series on Apple TV that makes forced happiness look like a public safety hazard.
If there's a theme this week, mark the tape. It's that the only hope for humanity is an alien virus recipe, and even that has downsides. Travel platforms will leave you homeless. Social networks will sell you crap. Coffee shops will have to start charging for Wi-Fi. Follow us on LinkedIn or X if you, like us, just can't get enough of everything going straight to shit.
I was going to say the other theme of this week seems to be a lot of drug talk, but setting that aside, thanks to our producer, Tanya Hubbard, who keeps this entire thing mostly on track and occasionally occasionally reminds us that we are supposed to have a point.
Of course, most of the time we do not, and she yells at us,
So much
and we
yelling.
have a seizure and 10 million people die. We are not good at handling these emotions.
Next week is Thanksgiving, so we'll actually be back in 3 weeks with more credit stories, more cultural detours, and whatever fresh filings show up between now and then, plus the first of 2 extra special guests for December.
We have 2 very special guests coming in December. Until then, take care of yourselves, and remember, in an hour, you'll be one of us.
I. Universal consciousness. Woo!